Welcome to the Money Maven Project podcast. If you're here to learn how to obtain freedom over your time and money through real estate investing, you're in the right place. Create the life you want by living with intention and becoming a maven in mindset, money, and real estate. Now, here's your host, Justin Monk.
Hey, this is Justin Monk with the Money Maven Project podcast. Super excited this afternoon. We've got Tyler Jensen from Utah Flip, right? Utah
House Flip.
Utah House Flip. Sorry, I should have wrote that down. Yeah, Utah House Flip. I'm super excited to hear your story because I cruising your website the other day, learning about kind of what you've accomplished and what you're up to. Flipping 40 houses a year was what the stat was on the website. So you definitely have probably figured this thing out, and so I'm anxious to learn from you, man. Give us your story, kind of your background, kind of what got you to where you're at today.
Yeah, totally. Well, thank you first off for having me. I'm glad we finally got to connect. I know we've been trying to do this for a while, so appreciate that. Appreciate the opportunity to be on your show. Hopefully we can give some value to your listeners and your subscribers. But as far as I go, I started flipping houses in 2008. I was a freshman in college. I just always knew that flipping houses was a good way to make income. So kind of backstory before that, I grew up pretty poor, broke, grew up on a dairy farm. We used to milk cows, stuff like that. I don't do that anymore, obviously, but kind of came from poor beginnings, and something that was always driving me was being able to have that financial freedom and that time freedom. So I figured that flipping houses was the way to do that, but I kind of took the traditional route, go get an education, get a good corporate job, climb the corporate ladder. And so that was kind of the path that I took. But flipping houses was always just kind of a side hustle for me.
Yeah.
So first house we lost money on. I lost like $37,000. We did everything wrong. It was a painful education, but that's what I marked it up as, right? It was a failing forward is what I like to call it. So we failed on that one. I totally screwed it up. The second flip, we made $39,000. And so I gave all that money to our investor who kind of floated us with that first deal. So I had done two deals, right? I'd done a really bad deal and I've done a really good deal. And so I just kind of side hustled through college. I went and I got multiple degrees and I kind of took that corporate America route, but real estate was always on the side for me. I would flip 1 or 2 houses a year just on my own, right? Going to school full time. I was working full time. And then I would flip houses at nights and weekends and spring break, and all my friends would be out partying and having fun on spring break, and I'd be laying tile and painting houses. And
wow.
So I was really a one-man show, right? I was doing everything. I would flip one house every 6 months or whatever, and it would just take me forever. And then, I kind of real estate was always there through kind of my career. I went to corporate America. I did a lot of cool things in corporate America. I was a COO for a big company. I kind of ran all their operations, but I realized really quickly that I was trading my time and all of that just for money, right? I was working 80 hours a week. I was stressed all the time. I'd come home and be ornery and angry and just traveled a lot. Like I was always gone. And so, I decided that corporate America, that's the path I thought I wanted to take, right? Be a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. But again, I didn't have that time freedom. I had a young family. I wanted to hang out with my kids, with my wife, and not necessarily travel 3 weeks out of a month and not be home and not be there for them. So a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, it kind of came to this point that we were doing about 6 deals a year in real estate. I was still flipping houses. I had kind of hired a GC to help me so I wasn't swinging a hammer all the time so I could focus on work. And we closed on a couple properties. I came home and I told my wife that I wanted to quit my job. And you could probably guess what she said, right? She said, "No way." Exactly. Why would you leave this corporate job? You went to school, you got this education, you're highly educated, you're a COO of this company, right? You do all these things. And I was like, hey, look, I want to quit. Real estate's my passion. I love doing it.
Yeah.
I just want to pursue this dream. And she gave me 6 months. She said, okay, you've got 6 months to make it happen. If not, you got to go back and get a job. So looking back now, I asked her just a couple of weeks ago, I'm like, hey, well, what do you think about that decision to quit my job? And she's like, are you kidding? That was my idea, right? I told you to leave. Like, she's like, that was the best decision we ever made. So I'll give her all the credit for that.
Yeah, but bless her heart for giving you a go ahead on that, though. That's
which
sweet.
Was crazy, right? And it was just a cool experience. But fast forward a couple of years now since I left that corporate job, my company we'll do over 40 rehabs this year. We do a lot of just renovations. We're really good at it. We've done a lot of renovations in 7 days. So we've done $40,000 rehabs in 7 days. We did 4 of those. We did 4 at the same time, all in 7 days. We can talk about more about that later, but we've really just become really efficient at flipping houses. And so we just got really good at it. So my life now is that I'm to a point that we received kind of that financial freedom, but also that time freedom. I get to hang out with my kids, and I take off every Friday, and we call it Fun Fridays, and I get to go hang out with them. So that's really why when I first started that I really wanted that time freedom and that financial freedom. That was really the motivator for me to be successful and to work through those hard times, right? To lose money and to lost countless hours of sleep and all those things. But I understood my why and my motivation to get there. And I just put in the work, man, and made it happen. So it's kind of cool that that's where my business is now. So that's kind of the long shortened version of the backstory, I guess.
I love that, man. That's a great story. And what I want our listeners to hear so far is that the freedom of time and money does exist. Like, you're there. Like,
absolutely,
you're there. And because I think a lot of people, even me, like, I'm still, so real estate's going strong for me, but it's still on the side. Like, I'm a part owner of a solar company here in Utah, and I still have that 9-to-5 thing. And so I have to deal with that. But I want our listeners to hear that, it's there, like, it's available. Fridays off, probably flexible Monday through Thursday, depending on what the family's needs are, what the opportunities are. And I just want our listeners to hear that, like, it can happen. And you started flipping in 2008, but really all in, it's been a couple years, right?
Yeah, all in. So I was flipping all the time, and like, I'd flip a lot of houses prior. In 2008, we started a company. It was called Pay It Forward, and we would do like short sales and foreclosures and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of evolved into, I just knew that was my passion. I love taking these crappy houses and turning it into something nice, right?
Yeah.
Like something I could be proud of. So yeah, it definitely is possible, and it takes a lot of work and a lot of faith and a lot of, commitment to you and that belief that you can achieve those dreams. But yeah, it's real and it's tangible, and it's something that I'm really proud of that I was able to do. But it took some time, right? And it's scary when you're at that decision to take that leap to, hey, I'm going to pursue my dream and really make it happen. And if I crash and burn, I've got to be okay with that too. But failure is what you do with it, right? And so I took that failure and I learned from it, and I said, this is what I want to do. And that why was strong enough. So if you are listening to this and you kind of want to pursue that, just like what you're saying, you still have that 9-to-5, which is great. I've been there, done that. I did real estate on the side for a long time, but it just came to this point that real estate for me was that passion and something I always knew I wanted to pursue and be good at. So.
Yeah. No, that's cool. So tell us more about the business. How are you funding these deals right now? Are you doing that on your own? You've got investors. How are you funding these deals?
Funding or finding? Funding. So paying for them. Yeah. So I don't put any personal money into any of our properties. So it's all about with people I know, with relationships, with lenders, people who have money in their bank accounts that's liquid cash that's making 0.001% in a CD account, right? People in their IRA accounts, just any kind of lenders like that. We've really raised a lot of capital. And so we don't fund anything. I don't put any money into any of our deals. And going forward, we just don't do that. My money is better spent in operating costs and keeping my staff and everyone else employed and working and marketing for more deals and all of that stuff. And so we just let the investors, they make a good return. and they fund everything from our rehabs to our purchase price, our closing costs. They take care of all of that. But that's just being in the people business, right? You have to have good relationships.
Yeah. So how are these people reaching out to you, or are you finding them through just general networking?
Both. Yeah, just both, right? Like I put myself out there, and we've done a lot. We did a YouTube series that has got a lot of attraction. I do podcasts like these all the time that kind of gives you that public recognition, right? That PR. And so it's kind of both. People will come to me and they see what we're doing, but it's also me being proactive and finding people as well, and just showing them what we can do, right? We're really probably one of the best house flippers in the country because we're just super efficient and we're really good at what we do. We've really focused in on our niche, and people see that and they want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
So but going back to just getting started, right? I had to go and find it. I had to go and dig through it, right? I read all these books, Getting the Money by Susan Lassiter. She just spoke with me at one of these events that we just did, and she's amazing, right? But she talks about how to get 250 grand in 30 days, right? I never thought that was possible to do that. So, but reading her book and getting to speak with her on this platform that we're both participated in, it was cool. Like that, money's out there and you can go and find it. It's just how do you go and get it to fund these deals? So.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think people have to realize that it's out there. Like it's actually all over the place. And until you start looking, you're not going to realize that it is out there. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. I've maxed out, my personal funds, not personal funds, but my business capital, the funding that I can get, the loans that I can get. And so I'm in that stage of like trying to figure out, okay, if I want to keep growing and grow faster, I need to find private money, hard money loans. I know that's a subtle difference, but like the hard money entities or businesses that I work with, it's always such a pain. All the paperwork and stuff I have to go through every time. It's like I want to be able to just smoothly go through these deals with private money. And so I'm in that hunt of finding money. And as I've just started thinking about my network and who would be in a position, I'm actually coming up with a lot of ideas of people that I could be talking to. So it is out there.
Totally. I would highly recommend. I helped co-write a program. It's called the 500K Challenge. So if you go to 500kchallenge.com, Bill Allen produced it and put it out there. It's part of our coaching program that we do. But it's phenomenal. Like it's really talks about how to raise $500,000 in 30 days. And it's just that, right? Reaching out to people that you may or may not think have money. I just talk about real estate. What do I do, right? My dentist asked me, hey, what do you do for a living? Oh, I provide investors a secured return on real estate. He's like, what do you mean, right? Tell me more about that, right? Okay, cool. Now my dentist just became an investor, right? Because I told him what I do and what I love doing. And he's like, hey, well, I'm self-employed, right? I'm a dentist. I make good income, but I don't know how to flip a house. Can I just invest with you?
Yeah,
absolutely. Right. So that's really what the 500K challenge is. So I would for you in your situation, I would absolutely recommend that because it's just putting yourself out there, man, like finding out, and you'll be shocked at people who will reach out to you that you were like, man, I never thought this guy had money. Right. Like he drives an old beat up truck and but he's sitting on $300,000 in his IRA account.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And so people that you just can't make that assumption that if they have money or they don't, and just put out a good product, right? Have integrity and that honesty and do what you say you're going to do. And people will be attracted to that.
Yeah. I've been seeing the beginnings of that already. It's just because I'm on social media, people have been watching me do what I've been doing for a year and a half now. And everybody knows deep down inside that real estate's like the thing and there's money in real estate. Everybody wants to touch and feel it. Not everybody wants to jump in and be the front lines like we are, but everybody wants a piece of that. Everybody knows there's value there. And so when you start talking about real estate, everybody's, hey, okay, yeah. So how can I make money without swinging a hammer and without being in this deal, but make some money? And so it is. So just logistically, or I don't know if logistically is the right word, but is this money coming in to one pool that you're then buying houses with, or is every house got its own investor lined up, each one separately, kind of? Do they
Yeah, so you got to be really careful with pooling funds, right? With just the SEC.
Yeah.
So they can come after you for pooling funds, and you have to be really careful for that. So how we structure it in my company is that it's usually one or two investors per property.
Okay.
And we'll have an investor that will do the purchase price, and we might have an investor that will do the rehab side. But it's usually not more than that, right? We don't want to have 2 or 3 or 4 people into the deal. We want to have 1 or 2 that we can deal with. It's a lot less paperwork, and the logistics of what you're saying is a lot easier to control that. But yeah, it just depends on how much people have to loan, right? We have a lot of investors that will do the whole thing. They'll put in the purchase price and the rehab, and then we don't have to come out of any money out of pocket. Or we have guys that are like, hey, I've only got $40,000 in an IRA account that I'm willing to loan out. What could you do with it? Oh, cool. That would be perfect for a second position loan. It's a little bit riskier because you're in second position if we foreclose, but we make sure that we have a really good margin in all of our properties, that we're not buying these stupid skinny deals, that we make sure that we have a good margin. So if something were to happen or we couldn't sell it or anything like that, our investors are really secured. And that's really important to me, and that's important to my investors as well. So if you can pitch that to them and you can really show them that you're the prize, right, that you're the horse that they need to bet on, then I think that goes a long way, right? And so that's how I've built it with my business and my relationship with investors, is that I just show them, hey, look, I'll make you whole, right? Even if I lose money, you'll never know, because I'll make sure that I take care of you and that that your money is sacred to us, and that we make sure that we take care of it. So we just have that fiduciary responsibility, right, to take care of these guys. So so that's how we structure it. That was a long answer to your question.
No, that's perfect.
That's how we do it. So.
Yeah, that's perfect. And so, what are the common rates? Is it the same every time, or is it different? Like what are these investors making? What's the term? What's the interest? Those kinds of things.
Great. Let me ask you, what do you need to make? What's your money making now?
Well, in the last guy that I was talking to, he had just finished talking to a financial advisor, right?
Right.
And they told him that their job or their goal was to take his money and make him a consistent 6%.
Ooh. So what if I could give you 7, right?
Yeah, right. I know. So, and so I'm like, well, sir, I can I'll give you 8. I don't care. Like, I'll give you 10. I'm giving hard money guys 10 plus some points right now. So
sure,
I'll give you 8 or 9 or 10. That's great for me, especially if the process is smoother and it's like one piece of paper or one document we got to take care of, and we're on our way. Like, I'll pay for that. And so that's my experience so far.
Absolutely. That's how I would respond to that question: is what do you need to make? Right. Yeah. Well, my money is in a CD account making 0.001, right? Okay, cool. Well, what do you need to make on that money, right? What can I help you? So it really varies, and you'll be shocked. I just did a deal at 0% financing, right? So he put in money, put in $50,000 for 0%, and in return, I'll give him some coaching, right? And I'll give him a half an hour of coaching once a week. And it doesn't cost me any money. It costs me a little bit of time, but I'm anywhere from 0 to 10, 12%, right? Depending on the money. But we always tell our investors that we always use the cheapest money first, right? So it kind of creates that competition almost that I'm willing to take less amount of money, but I know that Tyler's going to use it 365 days a year, right? If I need to make 15% on my money, guess what? Tyler's probably never going to use that money because it's too expensive, right? So I'm going to always use the cheapest money first, and I'm going to deploy that cash all the time. Yeah. So if I have a 3% or 6% or 8% money, then I'm going to use all of that first until it's exhausted. And then I'll move to the 9, 10, 11, whatever percent money if I have to, right? And very rarely do we get into that hard money and paying points and stuff like that. We just don't do that anymore. But when I first started, hard money was a great asset and a great resource to me, right? Not only are they underwriting your deal so they can tell you if it's a good deal or not, that helped me a ton. Hey, don't buy this house. You're going to lose money on it. Okay, cool. I'm glad I ran this past you, right? But yeah, that's definitely an option for people who are just getting started is hard money loans. But just make sure that, you know what you're doing and the terms are good and all of that. But that's kind of our terms. It really depends on the investor. I would never tell an investor how much return we're going to pay on them. They always go first, right? Smart. They have to show me their cards first before I'll show mine. So we always just ask that question. What do you need to make? What's it making now? Oh, I have it in the stock market. Oh, great. How'd that do in March and April, right? It tanked. Okay, cool. So you probably lost money in the stock market. Well, what if I can make you money, right? And it's guaranteed and it's secured by an asset. And you could go and drive by and see it, right?
Yeah. So that's exactly what this guy I was talking to, that's exactly what he was saying. He's like, he expects the capital gains tax to increase next year. Right now, for the listeners that listen to this in like 6 months, we're in between Trump and Biden right now. We don't know who our president's going to be, but there is a potential of capital gains taxes going up. So he's like, I want to get some money out of the stock market now while I can, but I need a place to put it. So that's kind of where that conversation started. So I'm hoping I can get a deal lined up with him. That will be awesome. And are you, so you're flipping these houses really fast. Are you giving their money back in, 45, 60 days? Is it a 6-month term?
Yeah.
Like, how do you set it up?
It's always a 6-month term. We never say we're going to pay minimums or anything like that because we want to turn properties quick, right? That's our whole motive. And it I don't know, incentivizes them to keep using us, right? Because if we flip a house in 60 days, then they want to put it back in with us. So it's always working. And so, we our terms are usually a 6-month note. And if we have to extend, we usually pay like a penalty fee or something like that. Hey, we'll give you $500 or whatever if we have to go over 6 months. Very rarely does that happen. Once in a while, there's uncontrollables, so things we just can't foresee, right?
Yeah.
But that's a typical term for us is we do a 6-month loan. And then we have no prepayment penalty. I could pay it off next week if we sold the house.
Yeah.
So,
and are you? I've heard before that oftentimes you can negotiate that there's not like monthly payments while you're holding it. It's all at the end, right?
We accrue it 100%, everything. Yeah, I don't want to deal with the logistics of. We have 12 properties right now. I do not want to be paying 12 different properties monthly interest payments. Not only will that kill your cash flow, but it's just a logistical nightmare. So we just don't. All of our terms are pretty standard. That it's in a balloon payment when we close on the property. We pay you your principal plus your interest, and we'll pay you everything that's accrued. So
that's a huge advantage over hard money because hard money you're paying that 10 or 12% or whatever every month.
Sure.
And so if you're in the middle of a 45-day rehab. And then you've got for me, I use the BRRRR method. So I'm rehabbing and then I'm renting it out. It might take me 30 days to rehab, 30 days to put a tenant in it. That's 2 months I didn't cash flow, but I'm covering this 10% payment. It sucks kind of. So that's a huge advantage, that private money, being able to accrue everything into a balloon.
And even with hard money, if I were to ever borrow hard money, those would be my terms, right? Hey, we do a lot of volume and I can guarantee that we're a good asset to invest with, then we're going to negotiate that as part of the deal, right? So if I were to go to a hard money, I would say, hey, points and interest are all paid at the back end when I get paid.
Yeah.
I'm not coming out of any pocket to pay points up front. They're going to be accrued and baked into the loan, and I'll pay it on the back end.
Yeah.
So,
no, that makes perfect sense. So tell us, what's the secret to getting to flipping 40 doors a month? Like what have you had to do and figure out to get to that volume?
Yeah. So it's just really systematizing, right? I surrounded myself by good people. So I started building a team. I realized when I was swinging a hammer by myself, pulling all-nighters, painting a house to get it done for tile the next day, that I was probably making like $10 an hour, right? Like I was moonlighting and I was working nights and weekends and holidays and anytime I could get a break from school, I would be flipping houses.
Yeah.
So I realized really quick that was not a scalable business model. So I needed help. I needed someone that I could go to work and school and someone else could be flipping the property. So my first couple deals, I partnered with the GC, and I wouldn't recommend that. That was something that I just did at the time. And But yeah, so I tried that and that didn't work. And so I would just GC everything myself and I would just deal with all the subs. I did all of that. And then once I started really growing my company, I needed people to help me just be better, right? So my first hire, I'm an accountant. I went to school for accounting and for manufacturing and business. And so I understand how to do accounting. I just didn't want to do it in my own company. I needed someone to do all the data entry and keep track of the numbers. So I hired a bookkeeper to, hey, your job is just to make sure that my books are in order and that we're profitable on these deals. And then I realized that, man, I'm doing 6 houses at the same time. I need a project manager that can go and see these houses and deal with subs and GCs and all that other stuff so I could really grow my business and not work in the business. Mm-hmm. So then I hired a project manager, and then I needed a sales guy, and then I needed an office manager. I needed designers, right? Because I hated picking out tile and grout color and paint. All that stuff drives me crazy. Yeah. So I needed someone to take care of that, right? And so I just grew it really organically. I grew it smart. And I said, hey, what do I need right now? What do I like doing? I love raising capital. I'll probably never give that away because I like meeting with investors. I like talking about money and returns. Mm-hmm. And so I enjoy that. So I'm going to keep doing that. But I didn't like bookkeeping. And I was good at project management, but I couldn't do project management and be a CEO at the same time, right? I had to get out of the business so I could work on the business, not work in the business. So I just kept surrounding myself by A players. And trust me, I went through a ton of bad players, right? That didn't work out and cost me a ton of money and just trial and error, right? They just weren't.
I don't think there's any other way to do it, honestly.
Yeah. But eventually I found that A team that they do a lot of this stuff for me, right? It's really systematized. So I don't even go to the title company anymore. My title company takes care of it. They contact the lender. My team just takes care of this whole transaction that I don't even see houses anymore. My contractors will come and they'll be like, oh yeah, you remember that house with the black shutters? And I'm like, I have no idea what house you're talking about, right? So it's just really strategizing. In order to scale, it's all about efficiency, right? Yeah. That's the secret to scaling a business is being really efficient. So you look at like these Amazon and Walmart and all these other companies, how they were able to scale really quick is that they just were really efficient. They were good at what they did, right? And so that's what we did. We just became that company that was really efficient. And I would delegate stuff to other people that was their strengths, right? The bookkeeper, she loves it. She gets up in the morning and she's excited to do data entry and bookkeeping. That was not me, right? So I needed to get rid of that. Yeah. And I needed to delegate those tasks. And so that's really what took me from a one-man show and doing everything myself. And then to now where I get to take off Fridays and hang out with my kids. And I have a pretty flexible, I took my kindergartner to lunch today and I took him to school and like stuff like that I missed a lot of when I was doing that corporate America. But I know that my team is still working while I'm doing that, right? They're still out there performing. They're swinging hammers. They're getting deals. They're doing deals. They're just moving this machine that we've created, and it benefits all of us, right? It's beneficial. They get a job and a paycheck, and they get to do what they love doing, and I get to do what I love doing, and it's a cool relationship that we have. So cool synergy.
That's huge. That's huge. How many employees, how many team members do you have working the deal here?
So depending on, I have a lot of 1099 employees as well. So if you would count them, I'm around probably 20 to 25 employees. And that's just a lot of GCs and guys that are swinging hammers and my designers and our agent, the guy that lists our houses, doesn't work directly for me, but he works for me, I guess. He's part of our company.
Right.
So just all over the place. But I have, an office manager that kind of manages our office and our marketing. I have guys they're our finishing crew that are on payroll. They go and finish properties. They do inspection repairs. They do a lot of that stuff. But it just kind of grow. It didn't start out like that. And I never thought it would really come to that, right? Like, it was just this cool thing that I just needed. What do I need now? I need this. Okay, cool. Can I hire someone out to do that? And what does that look like? And so, I just kept growing it. So
do you think that you could have started to make that transition earlier on? And the reason I ask that is because so often as entrepreneurs, we want to hold on to everything for so long, and we're just scared of making that transition, and we're scared of the cost of bringing team members on, and so we delay it. I think we usually delay it longer than it needs to be delayed. So that's what I'm asking. Do you think you could have started making that transition earlier on?
Yeah, totally. And it's just really a mindset, right? I was the same way. I don't have money to pay a bookkeeper. It was like $400 a month. Like, that's expensive to me, right? I got to pay. This person is relying on me to pay them $400 a month. But the return I was getting out of that was all this time back. Now I didn't have to do any accounting. I didn't have to keep track of receipts. I didn't have to do any of that. So I'm like, man, the time I'm getting back for $400 was a steal. I was like, man, I feel like I should be paying them a lot more money because I'm getting all this time back, right? And then I could go and find another deal, or I could do something different that now I didn't have to worry about these tedious tasks of bookkeeping. So you really have to look at it as like it's an investment, just like you're investing in something else. You're investing in these employees or the staff to help you really offload things, to help you, do bigger things. So I tell everybody that they have to pay for themselves. That's part of working for me, is that you have to produce enough revenue that will pay for your salary. And I think that they do that, right? That they're out there and they're doing these things that are producing revenue, and that are, whether it's giving me more time, or it's organizing our sales team, or it's whatever that is, right? That they have to do something that's going to be producing revenue. They're not just an expense to my company, but they're helping us build and grow, and they really pay for themselves. So that was kind of my mentality of going into it. And it was hard, right? I felt the same way. I didn't hire someone until I joined a mastermind group. And they're like, yeah, the only way to scale is to hire somebody. You got to offload some of those tasks. You can't work in your business and be chief everything officer. You got to figure out a way that you can really work on your business and kind of step out of that day-to-day bookkeeping or those tedious things that have to happen. And that's really was the game changer for me. It was just this paradigm shift that, yeah, you're right. Like, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
So it's scary. It still is scary, right?
Well, I think in our minds as entrepreneurs, often we're like, okay, when I get to this certain size, that's when I'll start scaling or start hiring a team. And I'm like, well, if it's going to work then, and it's a true principle, then I would start that as early as you feel like you have the cash, the income and revenue to pay those salaries, right? As soon as you can get there, I'd start making those transitions, not like a certain number. Because there really isn't like a number where it just starts to, okay, now it's time to bring on a team. I think you can scale into that way earlier on than a lot of us think.
It's just a need basis, right? What are you good at? What do you like doing? What are you not good at? What do you not like doing? How can you offload some of those tasks? Even if it's someone cheap, right? You could find a cheap VA for $3 an hour to help you with your books and do data entry. It doesn't have to be someone here and local and expensive. Yeah. It can be, what do you need, right? I need to hire a marketing director. Okay, maybe I could get one in the Philippines, or maybe I could, there's a ton of options out there that you can explore, right? But for me, it was, what did I need, right? What's my next hire? What do I need to offload so I can have more time doing what I like doing and I'm good at, that they can do, that they like doing, and that they're good at.
Yeah. Perfect. So we've talked about how you're financing these deals. How are you finding them? What's the process to get these deals into the pipeline?
Yeah. So before, it was just 100% from my network. So last year we didn't spend any money on marketing, and we did over 30 deals last year. So it was really just networking and marketing with people and talking with people. We would get from attorneys and real estate agents would send us pocket listings, and we would buy some deals from wholesalers, and we would get divorce attorneys that would call us, probate attorneys, stuff like that we just really, I made these relationships with people that would bring us deals, and they would say, hey, I've got this cool deal. You should check it out. So that's where I really started, because I didn't have any money. Right? When I first started doing real estate, I had no money. So I had to figure out a way to be creative. And I would drive for dollars, right? I used to drive for dollars before that was the cool thing to do, right?
Yeah.
And I remember writing sticky notes, these Post-it notes, and I would go post them on people's door, right? Hey, I'm interested in buying your house. Call me. And that's where I started, but I was hungry and I wanted to make it happen. I wanted to get these deals. So that's what I did. And now I have a sales team that they take care of a lot of that stuff. We still heavily rely on referrals in our network, but we're also reaching out directly to sellers. So we're doing like all the traditional stuff that you hear a lot, right? We're doing texting, and we're doing ringless voicemail, and we're doing direct mail, and we're pulling niche lists and all of that stuff. But there's really no secret to it. It's really just doing it, right? And doing it consistently. If a lot of people will tell me, "Oh, direct mail doesn't work," and well, how many did you send out? I sent out 43 cards one time, right? Okay, well, I'm going to tell you why it didn't work, right? If you were to send those 43 cards out every week, you would probably get a response sooner or later, right? It might take you a year to get a response, but at least you're being consistent and you're putting it out there. So when the time is right for the seller to sell, they're like, hey, this guy's been sending me a letter every week for the last year. Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to reach out to this guy, right? He seems pretty serious.
Yeah.
So that's really the secret. A lot of people are like, what's the best marketing strategy? And what's this? And what's the best channel? And you know what it is? It's putting in effort and making action and being consistent. It doesn't matter what channel you pick or which way you go, but are you doing it? And are you doing it consistently? And so it just really depends on if you have that time, right? Before I had time and no money, so I was doing all of those activities. And now I have money and time, right? So I can put more money into that paid marketing. Mm-hmm. So we do a lot of that. We're just trying to get as many deals and help as many people as we can. That's really what it's all about. So
yeah. No, that's awesome. That's a great point. And I think people sometimes get caught up on, well, what's the best one? Like, what's the secret to getting this done?
Yeah, totally.
And I was just thinking this earlier today, like, if there was only one way to succeed, there would only ever be one book written about real estate. But there's not. There's tons of different ways and different avenues, different focuses to get results in real estate. And so they need to pick the one that excites them, that kind of gets them fired up, and one that they understand, because if they put in the action and put the system in place, it's going to produce results. And I don't know that one thing is better than the other. I mean, I'm sure they have trends and ups and downs, but maybe when texting first was the thing, it probably outproduced everything else for a little while. But really, I mean, just pick one and dive into it, give it massive action, massive focus, and then it will produce results for you.
Totally. Yeah. I have a really good friend of mine in Florida, and they were sending out a ton of direct mail, and they just weren't getting any response from it. Right. And he used to run a cold calling center. And he's like, why are we not cold calling? And so they shut off their mail and just flipped 100% to cold calling. He's like, that's what I'm good at. That's my skill is. And they're crushing it now. They have all these VAs that are cold calling them for them. And like, they just really dove into that one thing. That's all they do. They do one thing really, really well, and they're killing it. Right. Like, I know a lot of guys that their whole thing is they just drive for dollars. That's it. That's all they do is one thing. They get really good at it. They drive for dollars, and they're good at it, and they're producing deals, but they're consistent. They're taking that massive action that you're talking about, and they're doing it, right? They're putting in the work to go and find these deals, and the time commitment. That's what a lot of people fail at, right? Is that I tried direct mail once and I sent out those 43 cards, and they give up and they quit. They're just not willing to put in that time and that effort to make it happen. So if they were to do that, pick any of those mediums, be really good at it, really focused at it, turn your dials and say, hey, this didn't work. Let's try this. And if you can do that and give it a 6-month runway, you'll get deals.
Yeah, perfect. So if for somebody that's just getting into real estate, flipping, what would be the best piece of advice that you can give them as they're trying to get started and get their feet wet?
Just don't get your feet wet. Jump in and try it, right? Like, that's really the get a mentor and find someone that can help you that's doing it. But a lot of times what I see people is they talk themselves out of it, right? They do this analysis paralysis, right? That I got to know everything. I have to understand how hard money works, and I have to understand how construction works, and I have to understand how marketing works, right? And they spend all this time, but they never go anywhere and they never achieve anything, right? So they just they're their own worst enemy. They just, I got to figure it all out first, or I'm going to start in the spring when the weather's better, or, they just make all these excuses and they never take that action. So my advice is just start, right? You have to just start and do something, right? Go find a deal, go talk to a wholesaler, go to a RIA, go find someone who's already doing it. People like me that I joined a group that people were doing like hundreds of deals. I'm like, hey, how do I get there? What do I do? What are you doing? What's working? Is it direct mail? Is it cold calling? And I would use their experience. Tony Robbins says, turn decades into days, right? So that's what I would really want to do. I would ask really stupid questions. And when I was doing all this stuff, I would pay an electrician. I'd be like, hey, I'll pay you $100 for an hour of your time. And I would bombard him with questions. Hey, how do I make sure I don't burn this house down? What does a GFI mean? How does this work? Like, how do I hook up a breaker? All of those things, I would just ask those questions, but I was taking action. And I wasn't afraid to take that action. So if you're just getting started, like find someone to help mentor you, or find someone that can show you kind of that light. There's a ton of these groups out there that are willing to help you and that put all this information out. Don't overanalyze it. Just go to work, right? Go out there and drive for dollars. It's the easiest thing to learn. You go and does this house look crappy? Yep. Okay, cool. I'm going to call them. And the worst phone call is the first one, right? So that first phone call, oh my gosh, I don't know what to say. I don't have a script. What am I going to tell? What if they say yes? What if they say no? What if they tell me to F off? Like, like all of that, those things, those what ifs. And the first phone call, like once you make it, you're like, yeah, okay, cool. Now I can do the second one, and then the third one, and then the fourth one. And then by the 100th call, you're like, hey, what's up, man? Hey, sell me your house. Tell me what's going on, right? You just get really comfortable at it. But if you were to overanalyze that and you never make that first phone call, you're never going to get a deal. And so it's really just taking action and believing in yourself that you can do it and that you have this motive. Your why has to be strong enough, right? I wanted that financial freedom. I wanted financial or freedom of time. And I was going to do whatever it takes to make sure that happened. And I just started, right? I just took that massive action that you were talking about, and we just said, yeah, let's do this. Let's, whatever it takes. I lost $37,000. Do I recommend that on your first deal? Absolutely not. It was excruciating, but I did it and I took action and I learned from it. And then what I learned from that failure, I failed forward, right? And looking forward 12 years, I'm like, man, yeah, that was a cool mistake. I did everything wrong, but I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know that was the wrong way. Now I very much do, right?
Yeah.
And so, but I could have avoided that if I would have had a mentor, if I would have had someone coaching me, or if I would have had this group of people that I could get feedback from. Hey, tell me how you're doing this, or what's working. I have this saying that it's easier to fly with eagles than it is to fly with turkeys, right? You got to get rid of those turkeys and those naysayers, and especially you. Sometimes you're the turkey, right? You're like, I'm just a turkey. I can't fly with the eagles. That's not true, right? You just have to get those people out of your way and get your own self out of your way and just find those people that are eagles that are already flying. So that's what I did. That's what changed my business. But just start, really. That's the secret, is just constantly every day being consistent and taking one step forward.
Yeah, I agree. I found myself talking myself out of the first few deals. Too busy looking for that perfect one, like has to be squeaky clean, like perfect. Everything's perfect about it, and those deals don't really exist. And if you do find one, it's probably by accident. So yeah, don't get hung up on it not being like a perfect deal initially. Just get that deal out of the way and learn from it. So
totally.
Yeah,
but just take action, ask questions. Don't be afraid to be the stupid one in the room, right? Like I'm that guy all the time. I'm like, I don't care. Like I'll put my pride aside because I really want to understand this, right? Tell me and teach me and guide me and let me know how to make this successful, right? So
we focus a lot on mindset in this project and on the platform, and the mindset it takes to, because I feel like even if you read every book about flipping houses, if your mindset's not correct, if your mind's messed up about certain things, you're going to struggle. And so when it comes to what you're doing and success in any endeavor, really, especially real estate, what's an important mindset or characteristic that somebody has to have to succeed in real estate or chasing any goal, really?
Yeah, it's just having that made up mind first, right? Why am I doing this? Understanding that, hey, I want to spend time with my kids, or I want to have that financial freedom that I can take off Fridays and not worry about money. That to me was the driving factor, right? So I said, how do I get there? Am I willing to really do whatever it takes to do that, right? With the blood, the sweat, the tears, the sleepless nights, the cash flow problems, the whatever it is, right, that always comes up as this real estate investor, that you have to be able to push through that. So for mindset, for me, was just really finding that belief in myself, right, that I could do it and that my dreams were possible, because I grew up and I had nothing, right? And I always knew that I never wanted that for my kids. And so that was such a strong factor to me and a motivator that said, I don't want that. So I've got to do something that's going to change that, right? So that's what I did. I just made up that mindset has to be made up. Can I do it? Yes. Do I know everything? No, but I'm willing to learn, and I'm willing to go through that gauntlet of trial, right? That I may not understand everything, and that's okay. And I'm cool with that, but I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure that I'm successful and that my kids don't have to experience that. So that's what I did. And that's what I still do, right? That's still a driving factor to me, is that I want to make sure that I give my kids opportunities, and then I give myself opportunities, and I'm like, yeah, I can invest, or I can do this, and I can have that time freedom back. And so just having that why and that made up mind is really the game changer. And then don't stop, right? Don't give up. You always hear that 3 feet from gold, right? Or The Acres of Diamonds, if you've ever read that book. Mm-hmm. It's always that we give up right before the floodgates open of success. And so we just have to be persistent and keep moving forward. And if you can do that and you're not afraid, failure is a good thing. I tell my kids every day, I'm like, how was your day? Oh, great, cool. What did you do really well today? What did you fail at today? Oh, I failed at the monkey bars today. Okay, cool. What are you going to do tomorrow that will make that better? Failure is okay. People are just terrified of it, right? Well, what if I fail? What if I lose money, or what if I do something stupid or whatever? That's okay. Like, learn from it. And it's what you do with that failure moving forward that will really make you successful.
Yeah. You have to get your head wrapped around, the fact that failure is part of the process. Like, you're going to fail. There's going to be hiccups. You're going to lose money here or there, or pay some money where you maybe shouldn't have. Like, it's just, I've only been doing this for less than 2 years, 18 months, whatever. And I've had several of those instances where I'm like, well, that was dumb. Like, okay, that was a failure. But I think, we have to, it's just like a kid learning to walk. Like, it's funny that when we start something new, we expect us to just not fail and not, jump right into and be great at it. But right. We know that that's not the pattern. Like, we know, you see a new, a toddler start to walk, like, they fall over and over and over again, and they keep getting back up, and they keep trying. And eventually, guess what? They're running around. And I think, I don't know why maybe it's a pride thing. Like, we take it too personally when we fail. I don't know what it is that changes our mindset around failure, but we have to get back to that, where it's okay. We're learning something new. And right. Never have we ever in any of, entire life, have we ever learned something new and never failed at it. Learning multiplications, learning how to spell. I still mess up on spelling. Like, so I don't know why we have this messed up perspective on what our expectations are when we're trying something new and learning something new, because it's not healthy. Like, we have to understand that it's just going to be part of the process.
Totally. And there's no smooth roads, right? There's always something in the way, or an obstacle, or a speed bump that will feel like you had to slow down for, or something. But as long as you keep that momentum and moving forward, it can happen. I can attest to that, right? That I've been there, I've lived it, that it wasn't easy, and it's still hard. I still have sleepless nights sometimes, and I worry about things, but I'm going to keep moving forward till I reach my goals, right? Because I'm the only one that can control that. No one else. It doesn't matter who's in office, who the president is, any of that, what the weather's like. It doesn't matter any of that stuff. It matters what I believe and what I'm capable of and what I'm willing to do to get there. And so as long as I have that mindset that, my world doesn't revolve around everybody else. And I don't care who the president is and none of that, because I'm going to give it my best shot and I'm going to control what I can control. And I'm going to make sure that I'm successful, because if I do these things every day and I get up and I have that passion and that drive every single day, then eventually it's going to stick, right? And I'm going to achieve something and I'm going to hit those goals, and then I'm going to set bigger and better goals, and I'm going to keep doing the same thing and rinse and repeat that cycle.
Yeah. So what do you do? What do you do to remember or to keep your why front of mind? Because I often find, even myself, where sometimes we get beat up a little bit and we forget we forget our why, we forget what our ultimate goals are. And so what's a practice or maybe something that you do to keep that fresh in front of you?
Yeah, I just realized that, having these fun Fridays and hanging out with my kids, I don't want to lose that. So I'm going to work as hard as I can to make sure I keep that, because I love doing that.
Yeah.
It's really enjoyable to me to hang out with these kids and to spend time with them and to do these fun things. So that's a big motivator to me, but also just understanding that there's going to be hard times. And one of the things that I really try hard not to do, and it's really hard to do, is to not compare myself to other people, right? So I see these people that are successful and they're doing way more deals than me, and they have more money than me, and they have these fancy cars that I don't have. And I really struggle with, I'm not as good as them, right? And I compare myself to that. And then I think, I've accomplished a lot in my life. And once I look back and I change kind of that mentality of woe is me, and I'm not as good as these people because they have so much more than me and all of that. Once you can get rid of that and really look back, hey, look what I have, right? I have a cool family, and I have a cool lifestyle, a business that I love and that I enjoy, and I get to help these people who work for my company make an income and provide for their families. Like, that's really what it gets me going, right? Is that I don't care what everybody else is doing. And you shouldn't care, right? And that's really hard to do. That's our natural man that comes out, that we always want to compare. Hey, I'm not doing as many deals as Tyler. And guess what? Tyler's not doing as many deals as this guy. And once we stop comparing ourselves to others and we really just have that self-reflection that I am good enough and I am strong enough and I can achieve my goals if I really want to, then that's when I feel like that why starts to come out, right? Because your why has nothing to do with the car that this guy's driving. Yeah, he drives a nice Tesla, or he drives this or whatever, right? That has nothing to do with my why. So when I really get that go down that path, right? And I go down that a lot, that I'm like, man, I just wish I had more. And more usually isn't more happiness. That's what I've discovered, right? More for me is, what do I really want more of? I want more time with my kids. And so when you change that shift and you say, hey, look, I am good enough and it is possible and I can do that, versus what are they doing and how do I be like them? That once you kind of control that, and I still struggle with it, right? It's hard, but once you kind of flip that on its head and say, you know what, it's up to me. Let's go create the world that I want to create. Yeah. And that to me really brings out back that why. What's that really, those core values that you hold, what's so important to you that you're willing to do whatever it takes for. And again, that's coming back to your why. Is it strong enough, right? Yeah. And so for me, that's what I do, is I just focus on that and what can I control? It's up to me. I could get up tomorrow. I could sleep in until 11 o'clock tomorrow, right? And no one would ever probably know. But I'm not going to do that, because I want to keep driving and I want to keep being more successful, because I understand that why. And then I'm not comparing myself to other people. So that was a long-winded answer.
No, that's huge. And that's so huge, because we are so hard on ourselves. Like, when we would never, the thoughts that we think about ourselves and our success and our progress, we would never say them out loud to people around us. Like,
Right.
It's actually, it can be that we're just so hard on ourselves. And if we're not making the progress, or we're not accomplishing what we want to accomplish, we just beat ourselves up so easily, because oftentimes, like you said, well, he's doing it, he's doing it. He's got this. Well, I should be there. Like, I'm just as good as him, whatever, and that's a poisonous thought process. And so I think, again, coming back to mindset and kind of controlling your mind, you have to be self-aware enough to identify those thoughts and those negative feelings and thoughts and get them out. Like, you have to get your head right. Otherwise, you're just going to beat yourself up, and you're going to struggle, and it's going to be painful. Every day is going to be like, oh, I didn't accomplish anything today. No, you got to identify a win every day. And oftentimes, this sounds super cheesy, but having a mentor is super helpful, because they'll look at you from the outside in, and they'll say, well, man, you've actually accomplished all this stuff. They watch you change over the weeks and days, and they're able to see all the progress that we sometimes can't identify, or we don't see. And so that's actually super helpful, because they will say, well, no, look at all these things that you accomplished in just 90 days or whatever the time frame is. And then you're like, oh yeah, I guess I have made a lot of progress. And sometimes we just don't identify that, and it can be super depressing sometimes. But you got to identify your why. You've got to stop comparing yourself to others, and you've got to be careful how you talk about yourself inside of your own mind, because that can be dangerous.
Totally agree with all of that.
Yeah. Perfect, man. Couple more questions here, and then we'll kind of wrap it up. But go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Ask me your questions.
Yeah. So what's your favorite business book, and then your favorite non-business book?
Favorite business book is How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's like one of the very first, that and Rich Dad Poor Dad were like one of the very first books that I got into.
Yep.
But that book has really stuck with me, because it's how do you really win friends? And I feel like regardless of what industry you're in, you're in the people business, right?
Yeah.
You're dealing with people. And so you've got to figure out a way to work with those people. So that just to me has been really how I've built my business, is how do I help people? And Zig Ziglar says, you can get whatever you want as long as you help other people get what they want.
Yep.
And I truly believe that. So How to Win Friends and Influence People has been great. My favorite non-business book, most of them are like business and mindset books, but I would say like the Killing Lincoln series. So Killing Lincoln and Killing Kennedy, I love those books. Yeah. They're really good. But,
yeah, if you're like me, I don't like everything I read is
mindset and business. So I don't read a lot just for like fun. I'm always reading to build myself, but I did read those. Someone gave me the Killing Lincoln book by Bill O'Reilly, and I love that book. It's really cool. I like that historical. And then Walt Disney, the autobiography of Walt Disney. That was one of
cool. Yeah, that's not one that's been mentioned before. I like that. Okay. So what are some things? I like to ask this question because it's always a good reminder. And it's always cool to hear people's ideas. What are some things that you're doing to give back? This is your opportunity to talk about what you do to give back, and what your focus is to try and give to others and help others along their way.
Such a great question, and not enough, right? I would love to give back more, right? Yeah. But we do a lot of things. I went to the Dominican Republic last year, and we built 3 houses while I was there. And so that was a really impactful thing. Mm-hmm. We were trying to go this month again, but the whole country shut down, and COVID is in its midst. So we do a lot of that. For Christmas every year, my company donates a rehab. And so last year we did a single mom in Ogden, and she runs a daycare out of her house. And so we rehabbed her whole house, and everything was donated, time and materials and stuff like that. So that was cool. We're doing it again this year. We've got a single mom that her living quarters are not very acceptable. And so we're going to go in and donate Thanksgiving to her and
wow.
Really really for me, giving back, the most part of what I do is I do a lot of coaching and a lot of stuff like that. But I do a lot of these podcasts so I can give back, right? That I can use some of my education and my experience, that I can help people. And so I do a lot of coaching, and in our coaching program that I'm involved in heavily, that I give back to a lot of those people. And I'm always willing to help people. That's my whole motive, right? Is to give back, because so many people took the time for me, and they were lifting me up, and I want to do the same to other people. So lifting them up and coaching, and with my employees, I really focus hard on lifting them up and making them better people. My kids, like, that's really important to me, is that they are really good people. And then, just wherever I can, man, but it's never enough, right? Like, I wish I just had all this money and this time and whatever, that I could just help a ton of people, but we really try. Like, it's awesome. Our core values of my company is being charitable, right? So making sure that we are giving back, and we're helping the community, and we find these families, whether they be international or whether they be local. We want to make sure that I've been blessed with the means to be able to help them. And so I just want to make sure that I use that accordingly. So
I love that, man. Those are some great examples. I did see some pictures of the houses in the Dominican Republic on the website. That's cool. I really like that. So tell us more. Where can people reach you? Where can people follow you? Find out more about what you're doing? Even the coaching program. Where can they find that?
Yeah, perfect. So the coaching program that I'm involved in is called 7 Figure Flipping. We just had our big event. It was Flip Hacking Live. That's where Susan Lassiter and I spoke. Walter Bond, he's a former Utah Jazz player, came. He spoke. He's like one of the top motivational speakers in the country. Super cool. So 7 Figure Flipping, I'm really involved with that. I do a lot of coaching there. But come find us on Facebook, Utah House Flip on Facebook, on Instagram. My email address, if you want to reach out to me, is tyler@utahhouseflip.com. You're welcome. I love talking with people and meeting new people, and any way that I can help, I'm definitely an open book. If you want to talk about business or strategy or mindset, Tyler Jensen on Facebook. You're welcome to find me personally. But just follow our company. We do a lot of cool things. We did a YouTube series. You should check that out. It's called 7 Day Flip. We flipped 4 properties in 7 days. So we had a documentary team come out, and they filmed the whole thing. And it was really cool to do that. We just did 4 houses in a week, and it was pretty cool. They weren't just like paint and carpet. We remodeled the whole kitchen and the bathrooms and all the utilities. So check that on YouTube as well. It's pretty neat. Something that we spend a lot of time doing. But that's it, man. Reach out to me anytime. I'm happy to help, happy to do coaching, talk about anything, be on a podcast, whatever you need, right?
Perfect, man. Well, this has been super, super informative. I've learned some things, and it's been super, super good to talk to you. Appreciate you coming.
Yeah, totally. Thank you again, like, for helping, putting me on and letting me share my message and reach out to people. And hopefully we added some value to your listeners and your subscribers, and appreciate the opportunity from you, man.
You bet, man. We'll talk soon.
Thanks for listening to the Money Maven Project podcast. A true maven shares knowledge with others, so be sure to share this podcast and leave a review. Thanks so much, and until next time, live life with intention.